Hey guys, welcome back to Clubhouse Kids. So today's video is going to be all about daycare taxes, and I'm going to show you how I get organized and ready to be able to file my taxes every year and what I do during the year to make that process a little bit easier. So if you guys are interested in that, stick around. Okay guys, let's talk taxes. So being a daycare provider, the paperwork side of things is not the reason I got into this business, but it is very critical to stay organized and keep up on all your paperwork so that you are not paying in a tremendous amount of taxes at the end of the year. So I'm going to show you different ways that I keep my paperwork organized and how it makes the whole tax season not so stressful, because basically I'm kind of doing all the work throughout the whole year. So the way that I stay organized through the year is every year I purchase the Redleaf calendar keeper. And so this is 2019, so this is this year's. And so this is the one that I'm going to show you first, because my other one obviously has all my stuff in it. So I'm flipping over to October, because that's the first month that I actually don't have anything written in yet. I haven't written any of the kids' names or anything, and I just want to show you the setup of this Redleaf calendar keeper and kind of how I use it throughout the year. So every month is pretty much the same in the Redleaf calendar keeper. So first you have a calendar when you open up to the new month, and this is the page that I will use to write in all my hours that I spend doing daycare or daycare related things. So let me show you my 2018 one and show you kind of what a finished calendar page looks like. Here's the one that I used this year for taxes. So this was 2018, and if I open up to January, you can see kind of how I have it set up. So I write in, the hours that I'm open, and then when I go back and I'm counting up all my hours for the year, I highlight all the time that I was with children in pink, and then I highlight all the times that it was me either prepping or preparing the room, cleaning up, anything like that, interviews, anything like that would write on there, and then I'd highlight it in blue, so then I can keep a good track of how many hours I spent with children and how many hours I spent preparing lessons or whatever. So that's kind of how I set up those pages, and it makes it really easy. At the end of the year, I just go back, I flip to January, and I just start counting. I count how many hours I was with the kids and how many hours I was not with the kids, and I just kind of have a running total of that. So that's what I do on the calendar page. And then the second page, they always have like some recipes and activities that are kind of fun. You can kind of see if you want to implement any of those into your month lesson plans. And then you get to your attendance and payment record, and they give you 2 whole pages. So if you have a lot of kids, they give you plenty of spaces. I actually just usually use the white, so I'll just put a kid's name and I skip the white, and then I'll put the next kid here, and then I put the next kid here. To have this whole block, you don't need that much space, but I just think it keeps everything a little more organized and clean looking. And then so then what I would do at the end of the week, I would just go back and let's say, child A was here on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I would just put a check on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And so I know that they were there what days they attended that week. And then when the parents give their tuition payment, no matter whatever means they pay, check, cash, instant deposit, anything like that, I would just write it on the total. I would write their total right here, and then you can see at the bottom they have a place to be able to add up all your amounts for each week. And then on the bottom here, if you want to keep a running total throughout the week, that'd be really organized. I usually don't do anything else other than just like keep a record, and then during tax season, then I will just basically put everything out on my table and just spend a couple hours just adding everything up. So one of the things I do though is on the meal count down here, having a attendance record really helps, because then I can go back and just count how many breakfasts I served, how many lunches I served, how many snacks I served, and I do keep a running total down here just to make my meal count a little bit easier at the end of the year. So I do not go off of like what the food program sends me, telling me how many meals I serve per year, because I know I serve more snacks than what is on there, and so I just always do a running total of my own. And then after that, you get your expense report here for the month, and it's 2 pages with lots of different categories. You don't have to use these cone categories. You can use just the ones that work for you. So this is when you want to keep absolutely every single receipt that comes into your home, especially like the ones I always seem to forget about is printing the ones off of Amazon. Like if I've made an Amazon order, I always have to go back and like print those, which is really easy because you can just go back to your orders and print your invoices from there. So that's an easy one to be able to get. And then always dig into the bottom of your purses and in your change things in the car. I will find receipts and just gather all your receipts. Even if you're in October and you found a receipt from September, this really is easy. You can just jump back to September's and add it. It doesn't have to be like in the right order or anything like that by dates. Just so by the end of the year, you have got a running total of how much you've spent on your daycare. It is going to make a huge difference in your taxes. The ones that I use the most are basically, I just use office expenses, supplies, advertising, food, toys, and household items. So I combine like my cleaning products, all the stuff that my family uses and the daycare uses. So it'd be cleaning products, batteries, toilet paper, Kleenex, just stuff like that that's just really hard to separate. I keep all that stuff in household because I know at the end of the year, household is going to be my time space percent, whereas the other ones basically are 100%. So my toys, for the most part, I'm just buying infant toys. And since I don't have any infants, then that would be 100% business for me because none of my own children are using those toys. Now, if I did buy something for the school age kids, like a new game or something like that, I would either stick it over into household so I know that that is going to be used as my time space percent, or if it's a game that I purchased just for daycare, but my kids are going to be playing it, then I would probably just deduct 50% of it and just stick the cost of 50% of it into the toys line. Food, I take the standard deduction. So I do not keep receipts for my food at the end of the year. I just count up and take the yearly deduction or yearly standard deduction on that. If you're on the food program, you can serve 2 meals and 1 snack, or 1 meal and 2 snacks per day. And so with my food program, I serve 2 meals and 1 snack. But then for my taxes, I do serve an additional 2 snacks to my kids. And if you think about it, you probably are as well in your daycare. So I'll just kind of give you an idea. So in the morning we have breakfast, and then they have AM snack, and then they have lunch. And those are the 3 that are counted towards my food program. And then after snack, after nap, they have another snack. So that one is just counted towards my taxes. And then there's always a time throughout the day that they have an additional snack. So it's either, in between towards the end of the day and they're getting kind of tired, waiting for parents, we might pull out some extra crackers. Or if I have a child that's transitioning hard home, meaning like the parents are picking up every day and they're crying, I have bought little individual snacks and kept a little basket out at the parent table so the kids can grab, a little bag of crackers or something like that to kind of help that transition home a little smoother. There's always times, especially when I had my preschool, the kids would kind of get hungry, kind of like a little bit before lunchtime, but it wasn't quite lunchtime yet. And they always knew that they could go in the fridge and get, yogurt sticks or cheese sticks or something like that, or a little bag of goldfish or something like that. That was kind of always available to them. Okay, so that is kind of how this calendar keeper works. And then it would open up the next page to your next month. Now what I do, I'll grab this one again. So here's this. So what I do after I have filled out any expenses, my receipts all would go into a baggie like this. So this is January 2018 and it's full of all January's receipts. And I have one for every single month of the year. And this system has worked well for me for many, many years. At the end of the year, I just end up with 12 bags. I have a little basket in my one of my drawers in my office, and at the end of the month, I just throw the baggie in there, and I don't have to think about it anymore. If your own kids are around the same age as your daycare kids, I would kind of recommend even keeping more of your receipts. So like your receipts that you bought for your kids' birthdays or Christmas or anything like that, you don't have to put anything into your expense report, but just keep them in the bags just in case you would get audited. You can prove that, you know, you're buying toys that are not and on your expense report at all because they're for your own children. So they just can't come back and be like, you're deducting, you know, all the toys that you're purchasing. So I don't have that problem so much anymore just because of my kids are a little bit older. But when my kids were the same age as all my daycare kids, I made sure and kept all the receipts because it really doesn't make a difference if you throw it away or throw it in the bag. You just know it's there and you never have to think about it once it's in the bag, and once it's written into your expense report, you don't have to go back, because then at the end of the year, you can just add up all those totals. And so that's why I like to put all the household stuff that's my time space percent into the household column, because it's just really easy to get that year-end total and then just multiply it by my time space percent. So the next thing, I just keep by the mile keeper. It's also made by Redleaf Press. I can either keep this in the van or I can keep it, but it's just, I like to have my miles separate. So I take the standardized deduction on daycare miles as well, so I do not deduct the actual cost, so I don't worry about oil changes or anything that, you know, I purchase for the car, wipers. And you can do it either way. You can do absolutely everything that you buy, you know, like the actual amount that your car cost you for the year, and then times it by your time space percent, or you can just do your miles and do the standard deduction, and that's what I do. So all I do is at the beginning of every year, I just write down where my miles are for my van, and then at the end of the year, I write down the miles for my van again, so I get how many total miles we drove that year, and then I can add up how many of those miles were business miles. And I will just show you a page here. It's super, super simple and it works. So I just would put the date, where I went, and then how many miles it was over here. And then you can just see I just kind of add it up, write it on the page. And then I just go through and I add up each page, and then I have a total of business miles. Now on your taxes, they're going to want you to put how many miles you drove for the year, and then how many business miles. Now I keep my groceries separate from my household just because we do daycare at my lower level, and so I have a kitchen down here and I have a kitchen upstairs, and so I actually don't do grocery shopping together. I grocery shop every week, but one week is for my family, the next week is daycare, family, daycare. That's just how it works for me. I've tried to do the whole like 2 carts or trying to like separate stuff at the register, and it's just too confusing and just stresses me out. And so this way I just do family one week, household the next, or daycare the next. So it makes it really easy in here. So if I'm either ordering them from Walmart or I'm going into the store, that is a business mile like every other week. I would deduct it in my mileage keeper. Some other things that I would put in here is if I took the kids to the library, or in the fall we went to a little pumpkin patch, that would be business miles. I've gone to IKEA before to get stuff for my daycare. That was business miles. I've taken the kids over to my sister's house to swim in the summertime. That would be business miles. Just all kinds of stuff. It's really nice to keep these in your car so you don't forget, because sometimes throughout the year you're like, where did I go? Or if you're trying to go back and trying to remember where you took the kids, if you're not like consistently, like with me, we don't do consistent field trips or anything like that. So there could very easily be a time that that I could miss miles. So I like to keep this in the car. That's why I like to keep it separate from my calendar keeper. So another trick that I like to do is in my office on my bookshelf, I always keep just a green tub. These are from IKEA, and throughout the year, anything that is taxes related, I throw in here, or anything that I need to daycare-wise paperwork that I'm done with but I need to keep for so many years, I throw into this bucket. And then when taxes come around, this thing's pretty full. I can just pull it out and I know everything is in here. So I'll give you some ideas of things that might go in there throughout the year. These are what my like kid files look like. So all the kids' paperwork is in here. So I have a child who's aged out. So I only do ages 0 to 24 months. And if they've aged out during that year and they're no longer coming to my home, then I take their file and I'm going to keep it in that bin. And then since it's with my taxes stuff, I know that it's also because you have to keep those records for so many years. Also, after a child has left your program, it's just a really easy place to keep that. Another thing I keep in there is all my trainings for the year. Licensing rep likes to have like the hard copies of each training I do, not just on like gateways. She likes to have both, and so I do 15 CPDUs a year, and so all my training certificates go into a folder like this. After she has done my year monitoring review, then I will take this folder, throw it into that green bin, and then I can grab another folder for the next 12 months before she would come back, and I know I have to do an additional 15 CPDUs. Another thing that I keep in there is for licensing, we are required to do daily safety checks. That's, when I open, I'm walking around just making sure all outlets are covered, there's nothing blocking doorways, anything like that. It's just a quick little safety check, and then we have to just mark that we did a safety check. After my licensing review, I will just put that in there. We have to keep them for so many years, but a lot of these papers really kind of just fill up your binders, and it's just an easy way to kind of like clear out your binders, that you're using daily, but not like get rid of it and then get in trouble for not having your paperwork. Another thing we have to do for my licensing is we have to do a monthly inspection at the beginning of every month. It's kind of like a safety check. It's just a little more, just the list is just a little bit longer than like your daily check. And so I would keep all those in there. So a lot of this stuff I put in there once I have my year review. Okay, and then everything else would be just taxes related. I keep my husband's tax stuff in there too, all his W-2s and anything family related, anything like that we just kind of want to save for just so many years gets put into that. It just works. Okay, so if you have done a good job and you've stayed organized all year, and if you're wondering what things that you can deduct in family daycare, you can deduct so many things, especially with your time space percent. So I would recommend, if you have not read the Record Keeping Guide by Redleaf Press, this is a Tom Copeland book. In this, it's going to go through every single category that I kind of talked about in that calendar keeper and telling you everything that you can deduct in that category. And this is just a great book to use and always kind of have, especially if you're a new provider and you're kind of just getting started with your own system and knowing what you can deduct, what you can't deduct. And it gives you lots of different ideas on how to kind of set up systems and stuff like that. So if you have not read this book or you don't have this book, I would really, really recommend getting this. I will link it below. You can buy it through like their website, but actually Amazon is always a little bit cheaper. So I will link it through to Amazon. But this is just a great resource book to have. Now, in addition to that, every year I buy the Tax and Workbook Organizer. Now I do my own taxes. I basically work through this workbook and then I put my taxes on TurboTax, and it has worked great. Daycare, family childcare is so different than any other business. I get a little leery about having somebody else do our taxes just because I've heard just from other providers that have people that do their taxes, will say, no, you can't do that, or you can do this, and I know that's not right, just because I have read so many Tom Copeland books, and so this system works good for me. This is a great book to have. So it's huge. It goes through any new changes for that tax year or anything like that. It has the workbook pages to work through, helps you get your time space percent. He talks through, if you're not a math person like me, he talks through like every math. It's like having a math teacher right next to you. So you can just have all your numbers right and everything, and you're all organized. So basically, and these calendar keepers and this really, really goes well together. So if you have done this all year, you're basically just taking those numbers from that calendar keeper and putting it straight into here. So I finished my taxes last night and it went really, really smoothly. And I know it's just because of this thing right here. It just keeps me organized. So little trick, little tip on that. That book's awesome. I will link that below. Also, if you want to use it this year or even just kind of have a system ready for next year's taxes. Another thing that for W-2s, and I'm going to cover this up because my tax ID number is on there, but I use these business receipt books, and this is what I would give every parent at the end of the year, saying how much they paid me for the year. So I'm going to show you what these receipts look like. Okay, so you want to get these out by January 31st to all your parents, and so you put the date, their, the parent's name, the kid's name. I always mark if the parents pay me in check or cash. My provider name are here, and then my address goes right here. Most of the parents know my address, but when they're doing taxes and it pops up, it's going to ask for my provider number and it's going to ask for my address. And so it's just a really nice thing to just write it on there so they don't have to leave their desk or wherever they're doing their taxes to go find your number, or their CPA doesn't have to call them and say, hey, what's your provider's address or anything like that. Just write it right there and it's done. Here I would write first day of care that I watched the child for the year, and then the last day of care that I watched the child for the year. I sign it, and then when I hand it to the parents, I make sure that I get their signature. So that is really, really important. You don't want them to come back saying that, you did not put all the money that they gave you, or if they had 2 daycares throughout the year, you don't want them using your number for their entire year daycare or whatever. This is going to save you when you have their signature saying that they have read this and you went over it with them. So after they do that, I give them the top copy here, and when you rip off the side, then it bleeds through to this page. And then I keep this receipt and throw it into that green box that I keep in my office. Okay, so you want to keep really good receipts throughout the year, but what if you garage sale? So I like to do a lot of garage selling through the summer. It's a great way to find, good toys and stuff for your daycares and stuff like that. So I like to keep a receipt book in my van also. So if I stop by at a garage sale and I buy some toys, I just write myself a receipt, and I know that I can put it into my calendar keeper and then file it away. So this is just a receipt book from Walmart, and so I would just I usually put I like to do a lot of subdivision sales, and so I'll usually just put the subdivision I'm in, kind of like what I bought and how much I bought it for. Okay, so I'm going to wrap up this video, but basically I'm going to leave you with the 2 biggest tips. 1, count all your hours that you do for daycare. So it's not just the hours that you are doing with the kids. So I'm with the kids 10 hours a day, but then I have time that I'm preparing in the morning. I have times that I'm preparing in the evening. I have times that I'm talking with parents in the evening, interviewing in the evening, lesson plans, cleaning. You want to add all those hours up. That is going to give you a larger time space percent when you do your taxes. The larger your time space percent, the less taxes you are going to pay. Now, I'm not saying to flub that, but if you keep good records, you're going to be amazed how many hours, it's kind of sad, how many hours you work a week. So that is my biggest tip, is to keep really, really good records of how many hours you are working every week, especially if a kid's getting picked up, 10 minutes late here, getting dropped off 10 minutes early here, all those minutes add up. My other big tip is to keep really good records, keep those receipts. If at the end of the year they have a standard amount I think you can deduct, that is not going to be anywhere near what you can deduct if you keep good records. Okay, so I hope that video helped. Good luck with your taxes, everybody. This is probably the worst part about owning a business, is all this paperwork side of it. I spent most of yesterday just sitting at the table going through that workbook and everything, and I know it's just, ugh. But keeping organized and keeping it is really, really going to help in how much you have to pay in. Early when I first started, I did not keep very organized records, and we really paid for it at the end of the year. And now years later, with a more organized system, the amount of taxes that we pay in has significantly dropped just because of me staying organized throughout the year. So good luck with everything. Comment below, give me any ideas that you do, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.